So, welcome everyone for today's session, and we are going to continue from where we left. That is, chapter one we completed, and chapter two we have just started. So, if you see here, we in the first chapter, the two armies assembled at the battlefield, and Arjuna first Duryodhana spoke. He talked about the the strength of the opposite party and the strength of his own army. And then Arjuna told to Krishna, who was his charioteer, take me in the middle of the battlefield. I want to see who all have come. It was a property fight. So in this fight, all negotiations failed, and they were ultimately, they had to fight it out by killing each other. So in today's world, such thing happens between two countries. If they cannot resolve their borders, they will have a war, and they will overpower, someone will overpower the other person, other country, and take over. So that's the last resort, and unfortunately in Arjuna's case, Pandava's case, this last resort came to be, and they had to fight it out with Duryodhana for their own property. So Arjuna told Krishna, take me in the battlefield, in the middle of the battlefield. I want to see who all have come. And when he saw his grandfather, teacher, his sons, um, young adults who are almost his age of his sons, his equals, his uncles, and father-in-laws. So he saw all of them. The whole family was there, and he started thinking that all these people will die, and then I'm killing my own people. And when I sit on the throne, I'll be all alone because there'll be these people won't be there. Hmm. Um, um, in this COVID situation, we are seeing that sometimes the elders, many times actually in this COVID for last 2 years, we are seeing that the elders they die. So their children are living in some different city, and one fine day when the COVID was was very very rampant, especially in Delhi, even in Bangalore, it was observed that the children are living in other city, and parents are here, they get COVID, then they are not able to breathe, and in 1 week 2 week they just die. And then the children come, they cannot even come because they cannot touch the body, someone else cremates it. And when the children came back after the COVID went away, that wave went away, all that was left is their parents home, whatever, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, a bungalow, but it was all empty. Now this is what Arjuna was also thinking. After this war, that kingdom and palace will be all empty. What is the point of this fight? So he gives these reasons which are there on the screen. The first is compassion. Compassion means I feel very bad to kill, which is right. Second is enjoyment. Enjoyment means I will enjoy the kingdom, but nobody will be there at home. Like I was talking about this COVID situation, right? Now, children, if they go to their parents' house and parents have died of COVID, there's no one in the home. They have to lock it. I mean, then there is no enjoyment. They'll say, what is the point of going to that place, right? Destruction of family. When elders die, who will teach the youngsters? And that will lead to more irreligion, more unethical and immoral principle. And then women will be exploited. Children that will come out of that union, won't be religious. So they will be unwanted because they won't be following the rules and regulations and laws. And then there will be destruction of everything. And then fear of sinful reaction. I will kill my own seniors, my grandfather teacher. I mean, it's a very sinful thing. And I don't want to enjoy this royal happiness. That is like talking like a saint. And then in this particular chapter, in 6th verse, he will say, I don't know what is good for me. Why he says at the end, even though he gave these good reasons before, why he still says, I still cannot decide. He gave arguments, but then he says, no, those arguments are not complete. I am not able to decide whether to fight or not to fight. What do you think? Why Arjuna thinks that with all these arguments, there is still an incomplete understanding? We'll get into it, but yeah. So this was the summary of first chapter. Arjuna reasons, the reasons that he gave to not to fight, and then he keeps his bow and arrow down, and he decides not to. In this particular chapter, second chapter, in this particular chapter, second chapter, Krishna answers his question. So for his compassion, he answers that in 11 to 30 verse. No enjoyment, he answers that from 31 to 37. Fear of sinful activity, 33, and then 38 to 53 is going to answer. Destruction of family tradition, 45 to 46, 3.24 in another chapter is going to answer. Indecision, he's going to answer in the 41st verse. So if you see, all the questions have been answered. So the name of this chapter is Contents of Gita Summarized. What Krishna is going to talk, Sri Krishna is going to talk in the whole of the Gita, he summarizes that in this chapter. And this is one of the longest chapters, 72 verses. There are two chapters which are longest, 2nd and 18. They cross 70 verses. Okay, so this is Gita summarized. In this chapter, the fundamental knowledge of spirituality is discussed. What do I mean is, if somebody says I am following some spiritual path or something, then there is something very, very fundamental that that person should be following to say that yes, I am following a spiritual path. And that is defined, that is explained, described in this particular chapter from verse number 30. Basically the concept of soul. So if somebody is saying I'm following a spiritual path or something, spiritual practice, it should be aimed towards the soul, towards the enlightenment of the soul, towards the emancipation of the soul, towards the goodness of the soul. If the soul is not there, then it doesn't count as spiritual. It still remains material. Like, many people do yoga asanas. They do yoga asanas, right? They stand, they do pranayama. So all this is part of Dhyan Yoga, but the people have forgotten about soul, or they are unaware of the soul, and therefore they are directing it towards only the body. So when they talk about yoga asanas and pranayama, they are talking about body only. Oh, this will get rid of this particular disease. If you do Kapalbhati, it is good for diabetes, it is good for this. If you do pranayama, it is good for your prana, it is good for your heart, it's good for your lungs. But that is all body. So therefore, those things just remain material. But when they are directed towards the soul, then the soul will become purified, then it becomes spiritual. So let's get into 2.1. Any questions, comments, you can interrupt me and ask. Sanjaya Uvacha Tam Sata Kripaya Avishtham Ashrupurna kulekshanam Vishidantam idam vakyam Uvacha Madhusudana. Sanjaya said, so Sanjaya is another person who is sitting with Dhritarashtra in Hastinapur. Hastinapur is Delhi. War is happening in Kurukshetra, which is hundreds of kilometers away from Delhi. And Sanjaya was given this power of to see a live telecast of the war. So he's telling to Dhritarashtra what has happened. And he's telling that seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana Krishna spoke the following words. So in the very first chapter, Krishna didn't speak, and he speaks here for the first time. He sees his friend is, you know, depressed, and eyes full of tears. He was crying. Arjuna was crying, and seeing that Arjuna is crying due to compassion, meaning care and kindness for everyone, Krishna finally spoke the following words. Okay. Material compassion, lamentation, and tears are a sign of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. So this is one of the points I was trying to explain, that we may have compassion for the body, tears and lamentation for the body, but that is still material, and actually it is a sign of ignorance. Ignorance means you don't know the real thing. But for the soul, it is self-realization, Atma Sakshatkar. So when we apply compassion, kindness for the soul, then it is spiritual. It is Atma Sakshatkar, self-realization. This is a very important thing, because today's world, they get confused with spirituality. If they are following some pranayam or something, they'll say, oh, this is also spirituality. But real spirituality is not for the body, it is for the soul. For the body, it may help. Yogasanas, pranayams, they may help. But it is not the aim of yoga to just help the body. The reason why the reason that the help is given to the body is so that ultimately the soul benefits. But what happens is people, they benefit, the body becomes fit and healthy, and instead of spiritual life, they go back into material life and they enjoy. So these yoga asanas and pranayams that are picked up all over the world, people are ending up continuing their material life only, the enjoyment, the unrestricted enjoyment actually. So that is not good. That is misuse of the knowledge. Like a company may give you a car to use, but if the person is using, the car to go to cinema and go to, some park, then he is misusing it. He shouldn't be using that. We see this in today's world. Politicians, they get money, they control a lot of money of the government, but they, instead of giving it back to the people, they put it in their own bank account. And so many scams keep coming up of these politicians, and they are doing scams now in thousands of crores. Previously they used to do hundreds of crores, now they are doing in thousands of crores. So that is greed. So the word Madhusudana is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding. So in Bhagavad Gita or in the Vedic times, when they used a particular word, a name, they meant something associated with it. So when Arjuna called Krishna as Madhusudana, or here as Sanjay is saying Madhusudana, there was a demon named Madhu whom Krishna killed. So Arjuna is saying, I have this demon of misunderstanding. Oh Krishna, you kill it. And you have already killed demons. So now you can kill the demon that is in my mind also. And he says the demon of misunderstanding that has overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. So this demon, what is it doing? It is obstructing Arjuna to perform his duty. If a policeman sees his brother committing a crime, then the policeman out of duty should stop it, right? But if it doesn't stop it, then there's a demon of misunderstanding in the police. This is what exactly was happening in case of Arjuna. That he didn't want to perform his duty. He just kept his bow and arrow down. He said, I don't want to fight. So that is actually against his duty, and that is called that's the reason of indecision. We'll get more into it. No one knows where compassion should be applied, where kindness should be applied. Interesting point. Acharya says nobody knows where kindness should be applied. Compassion for dress of a drowning man is senseless. Okay. A man fallen in the ocean of nations cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was Kshatriya and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose Bhagavad Gita was sung. This chapter instructs us in self-realization by an analytical study of material body and spirit soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority, Sri Krishna. His realization is possible. This realization is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive result and is situated in the fixed conception of the real self. So one example is given here is about the dress and drowning. So if a person is drowning and somebody tries to save him, but in the process of saving only the shirt of the person comes out, so is it real saving? No, right? The shirt is not the drowning person. To save him, you have to actually hold the person, not his dress. So people in this world, when they are compassionate, kind to the external body, they sometimes provide food to the poor and all that. It is fine, but it is almost saving the outward dress, the outward cloth or the shirt of a person who is drowning. It is same like that. Why? Because the real self is not the body, the external body. The real self is the soul. Now that's the concept which is going to come in Bhagavad Gita in this chapter itself. That the outward dress is not the real identity. The inward person is the real identity, and that need to be saved. The outward dress is anyway discarded when it becomes old and all that. It is discarded. What remains is the soul. So the soul, the benefit of the soul has to be there. Okay. So people are compassionate, they give provide the food to the poor and all that. It's all fine. But they don't uplift the poor. And they have a different conception of upliftment. The upliftment is something they think that okay, the poor can work and they can do some business, small business, and that is upliftment. It is upliftment of their material situation, but not the spiritual situation. And therefore, that particular compassion is not complete. It is incomplete. Why it is incomplete? It only looks at the material point view. It has only material viewpoint. Oh, I took care of the body. I took care of his clothing, shelter, and food, and I taught him, how to earn money. So that upliftment is only on the material platform. The person, the soul is not uplifted because no spiritual thing has happened. So the compassion, when it is directed for the spiritual soul, that is very commendable. That is the right way where the compassion should be applied. Okay. Now in this chapter, analytical study is done. Analytical means very detailed with classification and division. This is this, this is that, that is underneath this is controlling whom, this is under his control, like that. It's a very detailed analysis. So we'll see that. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Kutastva Kashmalam Midam Vishame Samupistitham Anaryajustam Aswargam Akirti Karam Arjuna. So now he actually speaks, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Krishna, he speaks, my dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planet but to infamy. So Arjuna's indecision, not ready to fight, is actually impurity. Impurity means what? Impurity means something that should not be there in it. It is causing harm to the thing that it is there in it. Like impure water, which is dirty water. So we put it in filter or RO filter, and that dirty water comes out clean. Right? So through this process of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, Sri Krishna is going to purify Arjuna. So therefore he says, this impurity has come. You should know what is the value of life. It is not the body, it is the soul. And after that, it doesn't lead to higher planets. There is planetary system in this universe. And one after that, one goes to the other universes depending on his desire and karma, by which he has accumulated credits to go to be qualified to go to the other planet. So he's telling to Arjuna that such a impurity doesn't take one to the higher planets, but to infamy. Will become infamous. Krishna and the Supreme Person of Godhead are identical. Therefore, Krishna is referred as Bhagavan. Okay, Bhagavan. Let me type. Black. So there's a particular meaning to the word Bhagwan. Bhagwan means it should contain. We'll talk a little bit more on this particular word. It is never said Sri Krishna. Okay? Arjuna Uvacha is said, Sanjay Uvacha is said, Dhritarashtra Uvacha is said, Duryodhana Uvacha is said. But when it comes to Krishna, instead of saying Sri Krishna Uvacha, it is saying, Bhagavad Gita is said, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. So Bhagavan means it contains 6 opulences. Number 1, all beauty. Number 2, all strength. Number 3, all wisdom. Number 4, all famousness. Number 5, beauty, strength, wisdom, famous, all renunciation. It's called all fame. 6 is strength, beauty, wisdom, all wealth. Okay. So Bhagwan means it should contain 6 opulences in full. In full, or let's say infinite quantity. Okay. So all these 6 qualities should be in infinite quantity. Then then it is called Bhagavan. And Sri Krishna satisfies that. All beauty. Sri Krishna is very beautiful. He attracts everyone. All strength. He is very powerful. When he was a 6 or 7 years old boy, he picked up the whole mountain on his small finger of the left hand. Okay. Wisdom. So the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is given by whom? Sri Krishna, right? And this is a cream of Vedas. So he has all wisdom. He understands all the essence of it and he can explain it. All fame. He's very famous. So Krishna was very famous at that point also and today also, and he will always remain famous. All wealth. Krishna's wife is Rukmani, who is Lakshmi. So you have Lakshmi Devi, who can provide all wealth. So he has all wealth and all renunciation. Renunciation means the ability to be not attached to it. When somebody has possession, they get very attached to it. This is mine. But for Krishna, he has all beauty, strength, wisdom, but he's not attached. He's detached. And therefore, so he has all the 6 qualities in full or in infinite quantity. So if any person in this planet has little bit of one of this, not all of this, one of this or few of this, he becomes very, very famous and people get attracted to them. Now, all beauty, we can take example of actor, actresses, those who act in a movie or in a drama. So they do have some beauty, but they do have strength? No, right? All their fighting scenes and everything is choreographed. It is used some special effects. Okay. In reality, they are not like that. In reality, they are not strength. They don't have strength. They don't have strong. They are not powerful. Now, sometimes they make movies, where they are shown that they go and fight with 100,000 people, right? But if in reality, if we try to do that, they won't be able to fight even with one person. It is only in the imagination of the movie that they fight. So they don't have strength. Do they have singing capability? No, right? These actor actresses, they don't have singing capability. So they need a playback singer. They will just move their mouth and there will be a playback singer who will actually sing the song and they will fit with these actor actresses in their scene and all that. And it will just feel like, oh, they are singing. But actually, do they sing? No. Do they fight? No. There are double. Double means there is someone who looks like this person and they are employed like anything. But they don't have strength. They may have little beauty. Are they all beautiful? No, they are little beautiful. Are they wise? No, they are not so intelligent. Their fame, little bit fame is there. Renunciation? No, they are not renounced. Wealth, they have some wealth. So any person may have small quantity of any of this thing, even one of this thing, then people get attracted to that person. Now, what to speak of Sri Krishna who has all these 6 qualities? Okay, where were we? Okay, we were just at the start. Bhagwan. So that's the meaning of Bhagwan word. Okay. Any question, comment?
No, Babu, nothing for now.
Okay. So let's get into the purport. Very, very technical words are there. So the purport is explaining each and everything. Krishna and the Supreme Personal Godhead are identical. Therefore, Lord Krishna is referred as Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the ultimate in absolute truth. Absolute truth, the ultimate truth. Right? People talk about truth. So, Bhagavan, Sri Krishna is the ultimate, meaning in the absolute truth, is the ultimate, is the final one. Okay. The absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding. So one understands it in three phases. First one is namely Brahman. Brahman, okay? This is not Brahman, this is Brahman. So Brahman means the impersonal, all-pervasive spirit. Here, from the body of the Lord, from the body of Krishna, comes a effulgence. Effulgence means a light or a brightening, like there are sun rays. Before the sun comes, there are sun rays, right? In the morning. So the sun rays is in the sky. Similarly, this Brahman is the effulgence that is coming out from the body of the Lord. And the living being can enter into it and merge into it. And that merging is not like, becoming one with the Brahman. It is slightly different. What it means is you merge and still you remain individual. Just like a green parrot may fly into the tree, and the tree is full of greenery, green leaves, everything. So one may think, oh, the parrot became invisible in the tree. But is that so? No. Somewhere in the tree, in a very small corner, the parrot will be sitting. So he has maintained his individuality. Okay. So that's about the Brahman. Then the Paramatma. See, when we say God is within us and all that, we basically talk about Paramatma. So that is within the heart of all living beings. And then Paramatma, okay. Paramatma is God, okay, that is there within our body, in the heart. And then Bhagwan. Bhagwan is the personal aspect. So Krishna was there 5,000 years ago and he would walk among people. And here is the person, the actual person who is having all the Brahman and the Paramatma. So that's the understanding. In this particular Bhagavatam verse 1 to 11, it says, Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yad jnanam tattam yad jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwan iti shabdayate. The absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding by the knower of the absolute truth, and all of them are identical. Such phases of absolute truth are expressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. These three divine aspects can be explained by the example of sun. We'll take the example of sun. And in the sun, there are three things: the sunshine, the sun surface, and the sun planet itself. There is a sunshine to the sun, right? When the light comes in the morning, it shines. The sun is not there, but the rays are still coming. So that is the sunshine. The sun's surface, on the surface, that is one thing, and then the sun planet itself. Okay. So one who has studied the sunshine only is the preliminary student. It means that if one wants to know the sun, then he has to understand all the three things: the sunshine, the sun surface, and the sun planet itself, right? But if one only knows about the sunshine, then it's a preliminary student. He doesn't know about the other two aspects, that is sun surface and sun planet. Okay. And one can enter into the sun planet is the highest. Okay, staying and going and staying in the sun planet itself. That is the highest understanding. Ordinary students who are satisfied with simple understanding, the sunshine, its universal pervasiveness, and the glaring effulgence of the impersonal nature, may be compared to those who realize only the Brahman feature of the absolute truth. The student who has advanced still further can know the sun disk, which is compared to knowledge of the Paramatma feature of the absolute truth. And the sun who can enter into the heart of the sun planet is compared to those who have realized the personal feature of the absolute supreme truth, of the supreme absolute truth. Therefore, the bhaktas of the transcendentalists who have realized the Bhagwan feature of the absolute truth are the topmost transcendentalists. Are the topmost transcendentalists, although all students are engaged in the study of the absolute truth, is engaged in the same subject matter. The sunshine, the sun disk, and the inner affairs of the sun planet cannot be separated from one another, and yet the students of the three different phases are not in the same category. So, to understand the absolute truth, all these three aspects should be known: the Brahman, the Paramatma, and the Bhagwan aspect. The Sanskrit word Bhagwan is expressed by great authority Parashara Muni, the father of Vyasadeva, the supreme person Godhead who possesses all riches, all strength, all fame, all beauty, and all knowledge, and all renunciation is called Bhagwan. So we talked about this, our definition here and here. There are many people who are rich, very powerful, very beautiful, very famous, and very learned and very much detached. But no one can claim they possess all richness, all strength, etc. entirely. Now, we discussed this point, taking example of actor and actresses. They may have some beauty, but they may not have other things. Like they may not be powerful. I mean, they're definitely not powerful. We know that. You know, they may not be learned. Learned. Their education will be very less. Especially spiritual education will be zero. And are they detached? No, they're very very attached. They will try to save a lot of taxes and all that, and they may stash their wealth uh, in those virgin islands, where the tax rate, everything is very less, and they will try to do all these things. So, but Krishna can claim this. But Krishna can claim this because he is the supreme personality of Godhead. No living entity, including Brahma, Lord Shiva, or Narayana, can possess opulences as fully as Krishna. So Krishna has opulences in much more quantity that even Brahma, Indra, Shiva, and Narayana, they cannot comprehend it. They don't have that much. They have good amount of name, fame, strength, everything, but they compared to Krishna, it is still less. This verse comes in Brahma Samhita, where Brahma himself spoke that Sri Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead and no one is equal to or above him. He is the primeval Lord and the Bhagwan known as Govinda, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. It's a very, very important verse. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So here it specifically talks about Krishna. It tells all details about Krishna in just 4 verses. 4 lines of code. What says is Ishvara Parama Krishna. Ishvara means controller. Okay. So controller, we have a lot of controllers. Within this universe, there are a lot of controllers. And within our country, there are controllers. There is the mayor of the city, the traffic police, all these are small controllers. The government, the tax collector. So these are they also have some control. It is said the America's army is the most powerful army, and the president has the control over it. The president of America. Similarly, the president of India controls the Indian Air Force, Army, and Navy. It commands. So there are small controllers. The Prime Minister is a small controller. Now, among all these controllers, Krishna is Param Ishvara. Param means topmost. So he's the topmost, ultimate Ishvara. Ultimate. After that, there is nothing. He is the controller, ultimate controller. Satchit Ananda Vigraha. His body is made of spiritual matter, which is Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Sat means um, eternal. Chit means full of knowledge, and Ananda means bliss. Compared to that, if we compare our body, now our body, how it is it eternal? No, it is temporary. One day we'll die. Full of knowledge? No, I have to start from school. A, B, C, D, X. Is it bliss? Bliss means great happiness. Does our body give us great happiness? Any comment? Does it give us great happiness? And how does it give us? Or it doesn't give us? What is your opinion? Any comment?
So can you come again, please? What did you say?
Our body. Is it bliss? Does it give us happiness?
Temporary happiness, yes, it gives.
Yeah. So it is temporary. And how about quantity? How about quantity of happiness?
Yeah, that is also limited.
Can you give an example?
For example, if I got a rasgulla to eat, right? So it will obviously give me happiness for just the time that once I eat one rasgulla, then the second rasgulla, then third rasgulla, then after eating approx like let's say 10 rasgullas,
You're
I
done.
yeah, I won't feel happy, right? Because it will cause other things, right? My sugar might go shoot up and all that.
No, the basic thing is the happiness that we got eating the first rasgulla is not the same when we ate the 10th or 20th or 40th rasgulla.
Right.
Right? So our experience of happiness is also limited from the body perspective. Okay, body can only give us this much happiness. That we have to be hungry, 3 day hungry to eat 40 rasgullas and be happy. But if we are eating nicely and all that, then 2 rasgullas are enough. We may go to some marriage and rasgullas are there. Somebody is serving and he may say, "Oh, you want two more? No, no, no. Two is enough. Two is enough. Enough. Enough." Well, it is very sweet. No, and I just can eat. I can only eat two. That is enough. And some people are like, "Oh, just give me one." And some are like, "Oh no, give me half of it." So our experience of happiness, right? That is also limited. Our body is not giving us bliss. It is. It's most of the time giving us misery only, bad experiences. Some disease is there. It catches cold, cough, and we are not able to function properly. If one becomes disabled, then we just cannot function properly, right? So it is a cause of our suffering, and therefore we are installing big buildings of hospitals to cure our body, right? The purpose of the hospital is to cure the body, because it has big problems in it. Even though it gives us some happiness, it has bigger problems in it, and over the period of time, this particular body deteriorates. We become old. Recently, my grandfather is very old. He's 99, almost 100, and his bone break. One of his bone broke. I think the hip one or the leg one, whatever. And the doctors have saying that operating on such an old person is very risky. So we won't operate only. And they just gave medicines, painkillers. That's it. So that's it. That day he was talking and suddenly he shouted, "Ah, it's paining." He shouted like that. It was very terrible. So our body is a cause of misery, not bliss. But Krishna's body is not like that. Krishna's body is a bliss. It gives happiness to him and to everybody else. That is interesting. To him also and to everyone. So this is the spiritual body. Our spiritual body is made of three things. It is eternal. It is not temporary. It won't die. It's full of knowledge. Meaning that body will give us knowledge. We won't be going to schools and colleges, to learn ABCD and knowledge and gather knowledge. No. Already the whole knowledge is there within us. And bliss, it will give us happiness and it will give the other person also happiness. Such is the spiritual body of Krishna. And he is the primeval Lord Govinda. Govinda is another name of Krishna. The cause of all causes. Cause of all causes. This is a very nice phrase. Cause of all causes. Whatever happens in this world, the cause of it could be external. Like COVID causes, coronavirus causes some transmission of virus from animals to human beings. And it was a human being who made a mistake, who went near the animals. But is that the cause? That is like external cause. Yes, this is the one. But who made the whole thing happen? Who brought the person and the animal together and all that? Who forced it? Who inspired it? That is Krishna. That is God himself. So therefore, of the original cause is him. The ultimate cause is him. And there may be external causes to it, secondary causes. So the ultimate cause is him. And then secondary cause is what we may do or what others may do. Okay. But there's an inspiration behind every act, right? That inspiration is given by Krishna. He says this in Bhagavad Gita later. Okay. So in the Bhagavatam also there is a list of many incarnations of Supreme Personal Godhead. But Krishna is described as the original personality of Godhead from whom many incarnation personalities of Godhead expand. So you must have heard about Dasha Avatar, right? Dasha Avatar Sutram, the 10 incarnations of Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna is the source of all these incarnations. So in this verse it is said, Yete Chamsa Kalapumsa, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam, meaning you are the original Bhagavan, the personality of God. You are the original person. Indradi Vakulam Lokam Vidayante Yuga Yuga. All the list of the incarnations of Godhead submitted here are either plenary expansion or parts of the plenary expansions of the Supreme Godhead, but Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Therefore, Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, the source of both the super soul and the impersonal Brahman. In the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna's lamentation for his kinsman is certainly unbecoming, and therefore Krishna expressed his surprise with the word Kutaha. So when the Supreme Person is in front of you and the person is lamenting and sad, it's like you are in front of a king and you're sad. It doesn't work that way. Why? Because the king can satisfy everything and then you're sad in front of him. So Krishna is saying, from where have this come? I am here. From where have all these impurities come? Such impurities were never expected from a person belonging to the civilized class of men known as Aryans. Okay. Another interesting word has come, Aryan. Aryan means what? So some historians, they give some meaning of Aryan. They came from Greece and all that. But actually it doesn't mean that. Aryan means those who know the goal of life, the value of life. Those are called as Aryans. It's not a class or a tribe of people, So the word Aryan is applicable to a person who knows the value of life and have a civilization based on spiritual realization. That is the meaning of Aryan. Persons who are led by material conception of life do not know the aim of life is realization of the absolute truth, Vishnu or Bhagavan, and they are captivated by the external features of the material world, and therefore they do not know what liberation is. So those who just have material conception, okay, I just need to eat, sleep, mate, and defend in this world. and they have no consideration for spiritual life, for self-realization. They think that death is like the end, and after that nothing happens. I came into being and I'm just the end of mine, so I don't have to worry about next life and all that. And they think like that. Therefore they are captivated by the external features of the material world, and they do not know what is liberation. They say, oh, that liberation and all that spiritual life is just waste of time. For them it's like that. People who have no knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. So these are non-Aryans, they are only after enjoyment, while the Aryans are one who who know the goal of life, the value of life, and their civilization, mean their culture, is based to achieve the spiritual goal. And the whole culture is like that. So although Arjuna was Kshatriya, he was deviating from his prescribed duties by declining to fight. This act of cowardice is described as befitting the non-Aryan. So the Kshatriya is meant to fight. He cannot decline a fight. And therefore, he is a non-Aryan. Arjuna, at this point, was behaving like a non-Aryan. I don't want to fight. So that's a non-Aryan thing. Such deviation from duty does not help one in progress of spiritual life. So he was deviating from his duty, right? I gave you the example where a policeman sees his brother committing a crime, and then he deviates from his duty by not acting, by not arresting his brother. So that is unbecoming, right, of a policeman. He should be thrown away. So that's what it means. It's a coward act. Such deviation from duty does not help to progress in spiritual life. What to speak of material life? It doesn't even help in material life also, right? If a police doesn't act, then he's condemned, he is suspended, he is removed from job. Nor does it even give one opportunity to become famous in this world. That is, famous means materially famous. Lord Krishna did not approve of so-called compassion of Arjuna for his kinsmen. In this regard, I will tell you about this thing, becoming famous in this world. So there were these Bombay terrorist attacks, right? By Ajmal Kasab and his accomplices. They attacked various 5 stars, Taj and Oberoi in Mumbai, right? Almost 10 years back, I think. And they were killed one by one. And then Ajmal and one more person got into a car and they drove on a road. So by that time, the police had barricaded that road. And one of the constable name was Tukaram Omle. And this person, they shot at the car and the car stopped. So Tukaram, he went near the car to see, what, did they die or something? And somehow Ajmal didn't die. So Ajmal, he took out his gun and he tried to shoot and run away. And Tukaram, he showed great courage and he caught hold of the terrorist to such an extent that the terrorist shot 40 bullets in his body, but he didn't let go. Now, we know the constables of police, what they have in their hand, stick, or sometimes a gun, which is not automatic, right? Semi-automatic, or even manual. So he saw great danger in front of him, but then he didn't deviate from his duty. And by not deviating from his duty, he got the Ashoka Chakra, right? And then he became famous in this world. The terrorist, he became infamous, and Tukaram Omle, the constable, became famous because of his sacrifice. So if one deviates from a duty, then even in a material front, he becomes infamous, and he loses that opportunity to become famous. Our whole point of in this world is like we will make a name in this world. बाप का नाम बड़ा करूंगा, खानदान का नाम रोशन करूंगा, right? These are all material aspirations. But for that, one has to perform his duty, right? So even on the material front, it is a failure. But on a spiritual front, if one performs a duty and he fails, then that is also glorious. And I'm given this example of Jatayu from Ramayana. He failed in saving Sita and he died. But Lord Ram accepted as that is success. He didn't say like today's manager says, what are you doing? You couldn't do this work. He doesn't say like this today's job, right? You failed that thing. I will remove you from your job. Did Lord Ram say that to Jatayu? No. He glorified Jatayu. He said, you gave your life. And therefore, I will send you back to the kingdom, to the spiritual kingdom. So he got spiritual body, Jatayu, and he went back home, back to God. Therefore, he became famous even in the material world also. In the Ramayana, Jatayu is very famous for his sacrifice. And then he became famous in the spiritual world also, for his spiritual life also. So such is the important thing. We need to understand that we cannot be deviating from our duty. We should try our duty. And even if there is a failure in it, it is okay. But if we deviate and avoid our duty, then we become infamous. Then, it's not good, both in spiritual life and material life, both. Okay. So let's open up for some questions or comments, if there are any. Any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, I have one doubt.
Sure.
So, in the older times, when whenever the son born, so when he grow up a little bit, so he has to go to the this Gurukul and study. I mean, all those things he will learn Shastra and the all the archery things. They will learn it over there. So one thing I was thinking, like in the Shastra, they also learn these scriptural things also, right? Scriptures and all this, they also read there, there also, right? So what do they used to read there? Because as you mentioned in there, the Arjuna was never aware of these things, like that there is a soul concept, or there is these kind of things, that Krishna is supreme Lord, or I mean, whatever is explained, he might know, he was not aware of all these things. Then what he has read, what he has learned in that spiritual life.
Good. So good question. So two parts of the question, two answers in two parts. First is what one learns in the Gurukul. In the previous ages, what children used to learn, they used to learn all of this, what I'm showing on the screen. The whole Vedas. Part of it, some part they would really become expert at, to what they show the interest in. They will learn everything. So in this, Vyakaran, grammar is there, Chandas, meter is there, Dharma Shastra is there, meaning what should be the duty in such a complex situation, what we should do. Then the itihasas are there. Itihas means the stories are there. Oh, this particular king did like this. All that information is there. Puranas are there. The Samhitas are there. The Yajurved, Samaved, Atharved, the music, astrology, Ayurveda. All these things are taught. And Arjuna did learn all of this. So why is it that he's showing indecision? He's showing this reasons of what do you say, doubts. Why is showing doubts? So if you look at the story of Mahabharata, right, before this war, Arjuna and Pandavas and Draupadi, they were in disguise in the kingdom of Virat. There was a kingdom in where King Virat was ruling, and they disguised themselves. So the deal was that 13 years you will be in exile. You'll be away from your country, from your palace, and the last year you should be hiding. You should be hiding. And if Duryodhan finds where they are in the last year, then again they will go for the next 13 years. So for the last year they were in disguise. And when the 13th year actually ended, Duryodhan and party found them after it ended. And after that they had a war, and Arjuna fought. And he defeated Duryodhan, he defeated Karna. Okay, so that just happened few months before this actual war, that Arjuna actually defeated them. So he knew he had to fight, and he actually fought. He fought with everyone. But then when it came to the actual fight of Mahabharata, he's saying, oh, I don't want to fight. And the reason for that is Krishna put him into doubt. Krishna put him into doubt. Why? Because he wanted this Bhagavad Gita to be spoken. So he put him into doubt. And the way he put him into doubt is, in the first chapter, Krishna says this. After Arjuna says, oh, take me in the middle of the battlefield, he uses a particular word. And that puts Arjuna into doubt. Yeah, take me in the middle of the battlefield. Let me see. 25. So here, Bhishma Drona Pramukatah Sarvesham Sa Mahishitam Uvacha Partha Pashyetam Samavetan Kurun Iti. Samavetan Kurun Iti. Just behold, all the Kurus are assembled here. So Kuru was the family name of Arjuna, right? So if somebody is having a family name of Sharma, then he will say, oh, all the Sharmas have come here. So he made him identify with the bodily identification. And the best to identify the bodily identification is with the surname. Right? All the Sharmas are here. All the Guptas are here. So that's how he tricked Arjuna. And so Arjuna, he saw the externals. What are the externals? Oh, father is here. Grandfather is here. External, not the internal soul. So he started seeing from the family perspective. Hey, he's my Dadaji. He's my Nanaji. He's my this. He is that. All he's seeing is external. He's not seeing the body. The soul. He's not seeing the soul. And then we'll go to the last chapter. He uses the word smriti. Yeah. So after hearing the whole Bhagavad Gita in the 73rd verse of 18th chapter, the last chapter, he says very nicely. He says, Nashto moha smritir labdha. Tat prasadan maya chuta stito asmi gata sandhya karishya vachanam tava. He says, moha nashta, meaning my illusion is dispelled. The illusion that I am seeing, oh, these are my family members, the external thing, that is destroyed now after hearing the whole Bhagavad Gita. And then he uses the word smritir labdha. Smriti means, oh, yeah, memory. Smriti means memory. Oh, I've regained my memory. Oh, I remember, I learned all these things. And then he learned all these things, and he said, oh, yeah, I learned all these things in my Gurukul. So for temporary, Krishna had put him into forgetfulness.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Arjuna didn't say, oh, thank you for telling me this knowledge. No. What he says is smritir labdha. Oh, I remember. Like sometimes, if you remember our 12th standard and all that, we are so much into this solving, mathematics problems and physics problems, and we know the formula, but somehow we forget. And then some friend will say, or your teacher will say, oh, no, this is the formula. And then we say, oh, yeah, I remember now. I remember, right? Don't you remember? We say, right? Oh, yeah, I remember. So that's what Arjuna is also saying. Yes, I remember now. I remember. Smriti
Right.
Labdha.
Yeah.
Now, where does Krishna says he puts into forgetfulness? That is also very interesting. So he says this in 15.5. This is very interesting. Nirmana moha. No. 15.15, sorry. He says this in 15. He says, Sarvasya cham hridi sanvishta mata smita jnanam apohanam cha vedesha sarvar aham e vedo vedantikrit veda videva cha. He says, I am seated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. Krishna is saying, he sits in the heart and as Paramatma. And from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Interesting, right? Three things come from Krishna. He's sitting in the heart and he's giving three things. What is giving? Remembrance. So whenever you say, I remember it, who is giving? Krishna is giving. Knowledge. Oh, I know how to do this. I know. Knowledge. Forgetfulness. I forgot. Then who's doing that? Krishna is saying, I am doing it. From me comes forgetfulness. Interesting. So for this time being, he made Arjuna forget whatever he learned in Gurukul until that point. And then he gave the knowledge. And then Arjuna is saying, yeah, I remembered now. I know all this. Smriti Labdha. Kanishya Vachanam. Okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Got
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Any other question?
No, Prabhu.
Okay. Okay. So let's stop for today. And let's meet next week and